What was supposed to be another easy victory lap for Aliyah Wilson and her crew quickly turned into an absolute nightmare. From the very first tip, the Fever came out swinging. Boston dominated the paint, Clark dished dimes and drained shots, and the Aces, well, they fell apart. Aliyah Wilson, the superstar, the MVP candidate, the face of the franchise, had what fans are calling a meltdown of epic proportions. Missed shots, constant complaining to referees, visible frustration, and a body language so negative that it became the headline of the night. Fans couldn't stop laughing. Memes flooded Twitter. Clips of Wilson arguing, pouting, and throwing her hands in disbelief went viral within minutes. For once, the mighty Aces didn't just lose, they were humiliated. And the Fever? They didn't just win. They made a statement. Tonight, we're breaking it all down. Aliyah Wilson's hilarious meltdown, Aliyah Boston's dominance, Caitlin Clark's leadership, and the moment that might just mark the beginning of a new WNBA dynasty in Indiana. The stage couldn't have been bigger. The Las Vegas Aces were the defending champions, widely expected to steamroll through the semifinals. Most analysts had them penciled in for another finals appearance before the ball was even tipped. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever were viewed as the underdogs, a team full of promise but supposedly not ready to dethrone the champs. Yet the Fever embraced that narrative. They weren't intimidated. In fact, the talk inside their locker room was all about opportunity. Aliyah Boston, the Rock of the Fever, told reporters before the game, "We're here for a fight. We respect them, but we don't fear them." Boston finished the half with a double-double, making it crystal clear that this wasn't a fluke. This was a superstar announcing herself on the biggest stage. On the other side of the floor, Aliyah Wilson was coming apart. Shots she usually makes were rimming out. Every time she drove to the basket, Boston's presence loomed large. And instead of adjusting, Wilson grew increasingly frustrated. Her complaints to the referees became constant. After a missed layup, she threw her arms in the air. After a blocked shot, she glared at the official. Fans noticed. The commentators noticed. The meltdown had begun. The body language told the story. Wilson slumped her shoulders, rolled her eyes, and shouted at her teammates. Meanwhile, the Fever just kept piling on. By the time Wilson headed to the bench late in the second quarter, social media was already exploding with reactions. "This is comedy," one fan tweeted. Another posted a GIF captioned, "Aliyah Wilson auditioning for Best Drama Performance." The meltdown wasn't just hilarious, it was historic. While Boston was owning the paint, Caitlin Clark orchestrated the offense like a maestro. Her vision was elite, threading passes through tight windows and setting up her teammates perfectly. When the Aces tried to pressure her, she responded with deep three-pointers that sucked the energy right out of Vegas fans. Clark's combination of flair and poise had the Fever looking like seasoned veterans, not a young squad. At one point, Clark hit a step-back three from well beyond the arc, then pointed to the court as if to say, "This is our house now." The crowd erupted, and the cameras cut to Aliyah Wilson looking completely deflated. Clark's stat line was impressive, but her leadership was even bigger. She kept her teammates calm, focused, and relentless. This wasn't just about highlights, it was about control. And the Fever were completely in control. The funniest part of the night? The meltdown moments that fans can't stop replaying. First, there was Aliyah Wilson screaming at the referee after what looked like a clean block by Boston. The slow-motion replay showed minimal contact, but Wilson stomped around the court like she'd been robbed of a championship. Then came the sideline drama. Cameras caught Wilson throwing her towel, slamming the bench, and shaking her head as her coaches tried to calm her down. By the end of the night, Boston's dominance wasn't just statistical, it was psychological. She had taken Wilson, one of the league's biggest stars, completely out of her rhythm. Fans dubbed it a passing of the torch moment. One tweeted, "Aliyah Boston just put the WNBA on notice. This is her league now." It wasn't just a win for the Fever, it was a statement. Boston had arrived, and she arrived by humiliating the defending champ's biggest weapon. While Boston and Clark were the stars, the Fever's supporting cast deserves just as much credit. Lexi Hull hit key three-pointers. Kelsey Mitchell brought speed and scoring. Nalissa Smith played with relentless energy. Every Fever player bought into the mission. On defense, they rotated perfectly, swarming Aces shooters and forcing turnovers. On offense, they shared the ball, piling up assists and making Vegas look slow and predictable. The chemistry was undeniable. After every basket, the Fever bench was up, cheering and celebrating. That energy fed the players on the court, who looked like they were having fun even in the pressure of the semifinals. The Aces, in contrast, looked disconnected and frustrated. Their body language screamed defeat. The Fever's unity wasn't just the difference in the game, it was the difference in culture. Once the game hit social media, it was chaos. Fans flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram with clips of Boston dominating, Clark dazzling, and Wilson melting down. Memes labeled Wilson as the biggest sore loser of 2025. Others showed side-by-side comparisons of Boston's calm dominance versus Wilson's emotional collapse. Even neutral fans admitted they couldn't stop laughing at the meltdown. One viral TikTok showed Wilson stomping around set to clown music, racking up millions of views overnight. But it wasn't just jokes. Fans were also celebrating the Fever, calling them the future of the league and praising their resilience. For once, the WNBA spotlight wasn't on the Aces' dominance. It was on the Fever's rise and Wilson's fall. This win wasn't just about advancing in the playoffs. It was about legitimacy. The Indiana Fever proved they're no longer rebuilding. They're contenders. With Boston leading the charge, Clark running the show, and a cast of role players stepping up, this team looks ready to shock the world. Beating the Aces in the semifinals wasn't just an upset. It was a message to the entire league. The old guard is fading, and a new power is rising. For Indiana fans, this victory meant everything. The Fever had been overlooked, doubted, and dismissed. But now, they're the team nobody wants to face. And it all started with Boston humiliating Aliyah Wilson on national television. For the Aces, this loss was devastating. Not just because they were outplayed, but because their leader had a public meltdown. Wilson is too talented to be defined by one bad game, but the optics were brutal. Fans, analysts, and even former players have called her out for lacking composure. The Aces now face a crossroads. Do they regroup and come back stronger? Or was this the moment their dynasty began to crumble? Either way, the spotlight has shifted. Instead of being seen as unstoppable champions, the Aces are now vulnerable, and the Fever are the ones who exposed them. As one analyst put it, the Indiana Fever didn't just win the game. They flipped the script on the entire league. And that's the story. A semifinal game that will go down in WNBA history, not for the Aces' dominance, but for their downfall. Aliyah Boston dominated the paint. Caitlin Clark orchestrated the offense. The Fever played with unity, energy, and fearlessness. And Aliyah Wilson, she had a meltdown that fans are still laughing about. For Indiana, this wasn't just a win. It was a coronation. The Fever are here. They're young, they're hungry, and they're not afraid of anyone. For Vegas, it was a reality check. No matter how talented you are, if your leader unravels, the whole team unravels. But now we want to hear from you. Backhand index pointing right, was Aliyah Wilson's meltdown the funniest moment of the playoffs? Backhand index pointing right, do you think Aliyah Boston is officially the new face of the WNBA? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be reading every single one. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another breakdown of the wildest, funniest, and most viral moments in sports.